Hey everybody, today is my birthday. It is Monday, August 4th. It is 1:56 a.m. and because I'm now 63 years old, I wanted to make, well, not wanted, I am making this video blog to discuss something that I believe is very important, and that is why I created Zennie6Media, which is now a company, and why I say it's a new media model. And the reason really goes back to when I discovered vlogging. And I had built the game, the Oakland Baseball Sim World. And oh, thank you. Ultimate Sports Network says happy birthday. Oh, your 18th birthday was 2 days ago. Hey, happy 18th birthday. We're both Leos. Um, at any rate, I got involved in this because I created sports business simulations, made two online games based on an engine, kind of a program developed by a small company called For Real Business Simulations. The founders, Michael Bean and Will Glass Hussein, and I had a love of system dynamics in common. They had figured out how to take that formulaic expression of relationships that, and I don't mean like personal relationships, I mean relationships in our environment around us, that was created by Dr. J. Forrester at MIT in 1956. And they created it into something really cool where you could actually build a model of something. In my case, I made two of them. One of them was a model, that a simulation, as we called it, of the XFL football organization, which was a game. Would ask you to make the XFL last beyond the 1 year that it did in actual practice. The second one was my magnum opus. It was the Oakland Baseball Sim World, and long story short, that led to relationship with Dan Rasher, who was the academic program manager at USF, and a really good go for a time. But I took my eye off the ball, candidly, because we were I was really trying to figure out how to bring more traffic to the site. We didn't have a large marketing budget. We started off, I think, with 25,000. Which, hey, I I I look at Mark Anthony Jones' contribution to this day as a wonderful thing. Um, but the bottom line is we started out undercapitalized. But I was trying to figure out how to improve the visibility of the site. And in a frantic search, really late at night, like at 1:30 in the morning, I discovered something called blogging. And this was late in 2002. Um, and started a blog, which turned out to be Oakland's first blog. I wasn't looking to score points. This was because I was just interested in this new form of what we call media. Um, and it happened to come along at a time when I needed a place to express what had happened to me with the Super Bowl bid that I was head of, and working for then Oakland Mayor Jerry Brown, who was California governor and then later became that again. So anyway, I became really into blogging, and that I wanted to really improve in what I was doing with it. And so I wanted to cover the NFL draft, and I thought, I called Joe Brown, who was he was the executive vice president of the NFL for government affairs, a good man, legendary. He came up as a name because from a number of reasons, but among them, when we lost the Super Bowl bid 2005 Super Bowl bid to Jacksonville, he said, if there's anything we can do for you, Zennie, let us know. I remember that, and I called him, and he said, this was like years later. I called him in 2000, um, in 2004, because I was going to discovered blogging, and I took Anya Krotz and Keith Bukowski, two of my first bloggers, uh, to Raiders headquarters in Oakland. But I thought, I want to be in New York. I wonder how I can make that happen. So I called Joe, and I told Joe I'd like to cover it, and he said 2 words, you're in. That's how it happened. But I thought, all right. I went in and I wrote an online account of what it was like to be at the NFL draft. Not just to be there, but also to interview the families of players like Aaron Rodgers' sisters and so on. Aaron Rodgers was drafted by the Packers, and we know what happened after that. The first person to be selected was Alex Smith from Utah. We all thought it was going to be Aaron Rodgers. Anyway, did a great job with that, but I thought, how do I match it? How do I do something better for the next year? Because there was no guarantee the NFL was going to say, "Oh yeah, you can come back," even though I knew then and can say that if there's anybody whose word is gold, it's Joe Brown. Joe never reneges on anything unless you do something really, really wrong. And I haven't been in that space. At any rate, I thought, how do I top this? And I started getting emails about a company, Daily Motion, that was inviting you to make videos on their pages, and of course you had to have a camcorder, and it's not anywhere near as easy as it is today. Although back then it wasn't hard, which is the beauty of it, how the technology had progressed. And so I started a channel on Daily Motion. There was a fellow in Berkeley who started a company called Tube Mogul. You can make one video, and you can put it on Daily Motion, and then Blip TV, and then also this site called YouTube. And so I started using it, and all this stuff just kind of grew. And anyway, my YouTube channel. I had started several YouTube channels, but the one that really stuck was Zennie62. And so my first video that I ever made, my first vlog, really wasn't on that YouTube channel. It was on Blip TV. It was a video. I'm sorry that I didn't retrieve from Blip TV when Maker Studio shut it down. And it was a drive that I took from my place all the way to Berkeley to watch these movies as part of a group that was put together by Telluride Film Festival president Gary Meyer. And it was a cool vlog, and I'm really sad that to this day I let that happen, where Maker Studios essentially destroyed it. I didn't get the message that, hey, you could retrieve these things when they got my Maker Studio brought out Blip TV and all that. So anyway, Disney bought out Blip TV, but in turn Maker Studio, it had Blip TV's content. So anyway, I then started to vlog about people. I started to interview people, and it went on from there. And what I've noticed over the time is that starting in 2007, I was getting calls that I was meeting friends who would say, hey, Zennie, can you make a video about this? Or a friend of mine who was being harassed by a person online. And that person, the person that was Kofi Bonner, actually, who was my friend from Cal, who was being harassed by someone. Kofi was representing Lennar at the time. He was involved in a very deep political issue, political developmental issue regarding Hunter's Point. And I'm not here to either defend or attack what Kofi was doing, but everybody has a right to represent their point of view. And the person attacking Kofi didn't exactly see that way and was writing salacious things about Kofi, completely untrue, online. So Kofi hired me to push them down. And long story short, I did. Wasn't using video though. It didn't occur to me to use video at the time. But video eventually came into the practice of getting people or getting a client's message out. And that really happened with Gary Bauer and Bauer Limousine. I made a lot of videos for Gary, special sites. And that was really the first time I did it. And so now my YouTube channel has, even though it has, 51,000 subscribers, 26,000 videos, is interconnected with our Zennie6Media system, where a video automatically becomes a post on our sites like ZennieReport.com, right? And so that, and I'm very proud of that. And so what I've learned in all of this is several things. First of all, as I was coming up with this, here's Zennie Report. Here's how Zennie Report works, okay? But as I was coming up with this approach, and during the time that I was coming up with this approach, that's Zennie Report. See where we're at right now. You can actually go here, ZennieReport.com, and click it, right? And then it takes you to, well, there it is, right? That's the photograph post, and then this. And so you click it and you get the idea, okay? I don't want to have this loop. I mean, you can see the loop is developing, right? So the original idea then was that print media ruled. Everybody wanted to have something in print. They wanted to have a newspaper. They wanted to have it in text. And the idea of someone going online to read was almost sacrilege to a number of people. They didn't believe the news if it wasn't in print. And even then, it had to be by, and we have this today to a lesser degree, but still it has to be the New York Times or the San Francisco Examiner or, some print news organization. No one had ever heard of blogs. Blogs were just getting going. The first blog was created, I believe, in 2001. All right. But when I got into blogs, it just started taking off. And it would take off even more in 2010. Anyway, over the time, this is what I've noticed and I learned, that media is in kernels. I don't mean like a kernel, like someone who holds a rank. I mean that there's one item, and it's generally a video, that you will see that becomes that news and you'll never forget it. And now that the technology allows you to see something as if you're there, and more often than not, as it's happening live. Now I'm here in Georgia with my mom, and you're helping her as caregiver, although mom is smarter than I am. And we watch a live stream occasionally out of Las Vegas, PK, Planet Costs. He takes you to these restaurants. We essentially have dinner with him. We're not eating what he's eating, but he talks about having dinner or shows you as he's having dinner at Delmonico's with his wife. And then you could say, hey, order this dessert or order that, right? This is all in real time. And still, even with the live stream being as popular as it is, the statistics show that people still do look for the video that's only like about 2 minutes long. 2 minutes long. And they will pass that video to somebody else depending on what it shows. And that's your news today. And a lot of people don't understand that blip. And I think Blip TV, Michael Hudak and Dina Kaplan, my friends who started it, well, they were my friends now. When I started it, they didn't know me, and I didn't know them. But at any rate, I met them at VloggerCon, which is the greatest vlogger convention I've ever attended, period. Not that I've attended a bunch of them, but it was great because of the fact that it was only the second one of its kind in San Francisco, only the third one of its kind in the country, if not the world. And the conversations that were being had there were just massively heady and really served as the intellectual foundation for the kind of media we see today. And the more I think about it, the more thankful I am that my once boss and longtime friend Elihu Harris called his representative of the Peralta Community College. Elihu was the chancellor, and he was over. Jeffrey Heyman was over at the Peralta TV, and it was Jeffrey who said, "Hey, Zennie, are you going to the VloggerCon?" I didn't even know about it. This was in 2006, and he says, "Well, now you're coming to VloggerCon." Were it not for Jeff, I already knew about vlogging, but I knew something of it. I was doing it, right? But I didn't understand the power of what I was getting into until I attended VloggerCon. And that's thanks to Elihu, who introduced me to Jeff that day in his office, and Jeff, who invited me to VloggerCon that same day in Elihu's office. That was 2006. And arguably, that, in a sense, that was a major contribution to where I've evolved today. But what I've come to realize is that people are bugging out over why programs like The Colbert Show, Magnum PI, one of our favorites, other series are not paying for themselves. In other words, they're not attracting enough viewers to justify an advertiser spending money to put ads against those broadcasts. And it's because of this device, this iPhone. And what this does is allows the rapid creation of video, of moving picture images, videos. And people sit and they watch their phones all the time. You walk down the street, you see someone using their phone. They're doing it at home. That's time that takes away from the time that person may spend in front of a television set watching a long form program. And because it's addictive, you're always seeing something there that, wow, you may want to see this video, you want to play it again and again. That's what Instagram's really good for that. Or, YouTube has everything, long form and everything. So you can go to YouTube and see it for free. You can go to YouTube and see it whenever you want to, because it's what we now call video on demand, right? But what remains is that I call it a kernel, because there's all that I call it that one item of information, that video that you share with other people that is dropped at the right moment that can change the world. And by the world, I don't mean the whole wide world. I mean the world as you define it. Your community, your family, your workplace, the world. And someone I noticed looking back regarding vlogger history at VloggerCon in 2005, not 2005. This is a video I want to watch. It's like 19 minutes long. I just discovered it. I wasn't at VloggerCon in 2005. I was there in 2006. But this gentleman made a video of the title of which was about how easily transportable video is, how easy it was to simply get out information through video, how powerful it was. And he talked in terms of basically, it was almost like he was talking about overthrowing society in a good way. In other words, you're trapped watching the screen. You're trapped looking at it at a certain time. You're trapped looking at this message. But with this technology, that's going in. And by golly, he was right. That's exactly where we are right now. And so why Zennie62 Media? Because what we do is we get the word out for people, and we're paid for it, which gets the other part of it. Because there's so much media, it is difficult, if not impossible. It's possible, though, to make money from ads on YouTube than ever before. It's because there's just so much traffic. At one point, there were only, I think, when I started as a YouTube partner, there were only 8,000 of us in the entire world. And I was invited. Now there's something like 2 million. And even though that might sound like a big number, it's against 121 million types of video out there. And that number is growing. But we are YouTube partners that are assigned by Google, YouTube, to make money via the ad revenue that comes to our videos. But now there's so many of us, it's harder than ever for any one of us to really make a living in that way. So I recognized years ago that the money to be made was really in making content for people, making news for people. They don't have the time to do it. So the clients that come to us, they want to make absolutely certain that what they're trying to say, how they're trying to present themselves in by content is out there more than ever. And we do more than just video. Of course, we do news reports, vlogs, blogs, excuse me, as you might call it, but we also do standard news, but it's all online. And we own our websites, we being Zennie6 Media, which is a C Corp. Why? Because that has become the standard corporate structure for tech companies. The idea is you start off owning most of the stock, and then as you attract investors and they pay you the money to own part of your stock, you get richer and they have more of your company. Eventually you get diluted out, or you get diluted to a point where you have a little bit of the company, but a lot of money, right? But you will still have, maybe you have a controlling interest or something like that, however you work it out. That's the model, all right? And it's not only that, the company you're starting is a separate person. So you're protected in a lot of ways. You're protected in terms of liability. You're protected in terms of tax issues. You're protected more so than in an LLC, because that's a pass-through. Anyway, this is the model of the future. It is an honest representation of what a media company has to be to survive. You have nonprofits out there that are not honest about it. They don't tell you that they get paid by people to make their media, especially in news. Because if they did, they would get fined. Nonprofit law as it stands today says that you cannot get paid to make partisan content at all. You can make content that's well, you're measuring statistics and that sort of thing. You're giving out information, but news organizations today, particularly those that say that they're community news and that sort of thing, they're taking positions. It doesn't matter whether it's conservative or liberal. I don't care. They're taking a position, and that's actually, if they can declare themselves as nonprofit, that is actually against the law. So we avoid that. We are for profit. We are for profit. And we're candid about the positions we take. We're candid about the people we will not work with and the ideas and positions we will not push. But what this company is about is not about positions. It's about tech. It's about advancing media technology. It's about having a website that ultimately is such that as I'm talking to you, my words become text that's typed on our website, right? That's where I want to get to. But that involves having a type of technology that automatically types the HTML. And I haven't seen that yet. My friend Mark Cantor says, oh, yeah, you can do it. I'll say, no, Mark, that's not it. It's not typing a picture of words. It's typing, it's caused in the HTML structure of the site itself, which means that the words that are typed are searchable, findable by search engines like Yahoo, Bing, and Google. All right. I have not seen that, folks. I just haven't. If you've seen someone with that kind of model, let me know. I have searched high and low, all around. I haven't seen it. But it doesn't mean that Zennie6Media stops and doesn't exist. No, I decided a long time ago I would sort of grow around the technology. In other words, have this and that'll come along. All right. But that's what we do. The reason we're needed is because people do not have time to, and they don't know how to make their own media. They don't know how to do their own search engine optimization. I was talking to someone at the gym who took a digital media class and said, well, you can buy a Google ranking. You cannot buy a Google ranking, folks. I told her that. I said, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. You can buy an ad, which gets you up there, but you can't buy your ranking. You can buy links that push your page up, but you cannot buy ranking on Google. Google does not offer that. Okay. So there's a lot of misinformation out there that clouds what people believe is doable. And so that's where we come in. For our clients, we make sure that they're seen. And we used a number of different techniques, programming techniques within what I'm talking about. But this kind of media is necessary. And it's better than the other kind of media where they don't tell you that they're being paid. All right? And that's rampant. You want an example of what I'm talking about? Take you all the way back to, remember the Iraq War? Remember the weapons of mass destruction? Well, Jessica Yellen, then of CNN, later said that they knew the weapons of mass destruction didn't exist, but they were assisting the president in issuing a lie. All right? Issuing a lie. So media has been about this game for a long, long time. But what we do is we bring that power to a pedestrian level. We bring that to people who have no idea how to get their word out or protect themselves online or have something taken down that's harming them online or attacking it. We do that in many different ways. But we have to. So anyway, that's what we're about here. And I'm also concerned, like I talk about what I'm saying here, and right now, maybe it's the time of night, it's 0, but I don't like how YouTube algorithmically takes people away from your views, from viewing what you are putting out there. That wasn't the case. And I think what YouTube is doing with the algorithm should be made against the law. They shouldn't have 200 variables and make it hard to figure out, because you have the right to know when you put out video, when you put out an idea, who's seeing it, who's not, and why. And if you, in my opinion, you should have that right. That should be a government edict. Companies should not be allowed to hide data or hide their methods of how they're handling your information, the information you're putting out. This gives me an idea. All right. Subscribe to Zennie62. Join our membership club. We'll have more people, and let me know how we can bring more value to you. And hey, if you have a need to produce or have someone produce content, or you want to be a vlogger with us, join us. Right, join us. And yes, I do understand it's almost 3 o'clock in the morning. Maybe that's the other reason. All right. Like I said, I'm going to make more vlogs on my birthday, but I don't know that they're all going to be this long. Good night, everybody.